we're back with the CHARA Project. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Heather.
We are kicking off a brand new series this holiday season that will follow along our Hope Has Come cards. This is a 12-day journey through the Christmas story.
Yeah.
You can download these cards on our website. In each one of our podcasts, in each episode, we're going to be talking about and sharing a short passage of the Christmas story. Mm-hmm. We're going to add insight that maybe you haven't thought about before. And our hope is that this is going to bring the Christmas story to life. We also hope that this is something that you can use personally this Christmas season on your own or with your family. Yeah. So Heather, as we dive into day one, where are we going to start in the Christmas story?
Well, we're going to start with John the Baptist. You're going to find his story in Luke 1, verses 8 through 17. I'm not going to read all of the verses, but let me just give you a snippet, and it's what's on our Hope Has Come cards. Let's dive into Luke 1, starting in verse 8, and it says this. Once when Zechariah's division was on duty and he was serving as priest before God, an angel of the Lord appeared to him. And when Zechariah saw him, he was startled and was gripped with fear. And the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear a son, and you will call him John. He will be a joy and a delight to you, and many will rejoice because of his birth, for he will be great in the sight of the Lord. He will be filled with the Holy Spirit even before he is born. He will bring back many of the people of Israel to the Lord their God, and he will go on before the Lord to make ready a people prepared for the Lord." Now, when we dive into this passage, I mean, did you hear the descriptions about John the Baptist? Many will rejoice because of John's birth. John the Baptist's arrival would have been huge news because his job was to bring people not only back to God, but to prepare people for this coming Messiah, this Jesus that was going to come. I mean, it's pretty big news.
Yeah, John was pretty special, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I love that he said he was going to be filled with the Holy Spirit even before he was born.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other spot in the Bible where we hear that kind of detail given about somebody. And so obviously John's pretty special. And so it made me want to pull a question from our CHARA Bible Study guide that you can download off of our website about Bible context. And does my interpretation of John being so special, is it, held throughout the Bible? And it was really interesting as I was studying for today, looking at the cross references and study Bible notes around this passage in Luke 1. We see these Old Testament prophecies that spoke of a promised messenger that would prepare people for Jesus. There's two that I just want to call out. The first one is in Isaiah 40, verse 3. It says, "A voice of one calling in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God." And later on, we see in Luke 3, it references John the Baptist as this voice that's preparing the way and making the paths straight. Also in Malachi 3, verse 1, it says, I will send a messenger who will prepare the way before me. And that is the prophecy that we see played out in Luke 7 when it talks about John the Baptist. You see the connection between Malachi and Luke 7. You just see this echo of the Old Testament talking about this promised messenger that's going to come, and that John was fulfilling this.
I love that Matthew highlights these prophecies, that there was going to be a messenger to come beforehand.
Luke?
I'm sorry, Luke, yes.
Yeah.
The author Luke, that you're to be looking for.
Yeah.
And so he's showcasing this here. But we also see this just a little bit further in chapter 1 in Luke. We see Zechariah, John's father, prophesy. In Luke 1:67, it says, "Then his father Zechariah was filled with the Holy Spirit, and he prophesied." And then if you were to continue a little bit further, it says in verse 76 and 77, Zechariah says, "And you, child, will be called a prophet of the Most High, for you will go before the Lord to prepare his ways, to give his people knowledge of salvation through the forgiveness of their sins."
It's just so cool to see how this is playing out. I mean, they knew that John was pretty important.
Yeah.
But years later, John the Baptist, when he started his ministry, he would do exactly what Zechariah and what these Old Testament prophecies were talking about. He was going to prepare the way for Jesus. And if we were sitting in John's shoes, it would be very easy for us to get a pretty big head about the role that he had in the Messiah's announcement. I mean, John 3, verse 30 has an opposite approach, though. John actually doesn't get a big head about it. In fact, he says Jesus needs to become greater while I become less.
Right.
So John the Baptist has this positioning that he already is starting to make, where it's just like, this isn't about me, this is about Jesus.
I love that. Yeah, it was never about John. And John knew that. Even though John was prophesied about, even though John was going to have the Holy Spirit before he was born, even though his birth was going to be great and there would be given a lot of attention there, John always knew that Jesus was more important. I love that you're calling that out.
Right. And so the question is, well, why did he know that Jesus was more important? You see in the book of John, as John the Baptist is talking, by the way, two different Johns, John the gospel writer and John the Baptist. But in the book of John, he captures John the Baptist talking so much about Jesus being the lamb who was going to take away the sins of the world. And it was that he had more power, that Jesus was more powerful. He was greater and worthy of our attention and our glory and our honor. And so the question that we have on our card for the Hope Has Come cards is, this Christmas and in your life, what would it look like to make Jesus' name greater than your own? We see this with John. He's making Jesus' name way greater than his. But it's so easy in our own world to make it about us and to make the story about us. I mean, even during the Christmas season, we make Christmas sometimes about the gift giving and the hustle and bustle about what's going on. How often are we putting the focus on ourselves and our lives rather than on Jesus?
That's a real question that I think all of us wrestle with, right? What would it look like to make his name great, not our own name great, not to pursue our own fame, but his? And it makes me think of how we spend our time. I think there's a lot of indicators in where we spend our time and how we prioritize our time that reflect our greatest priority, what we value the most. And so this is a good question that kind of, sits with me, and I want to kind of think on and ponder on, how am I doing this and how can I make his name great?
Well, yeah, and part of it is not only figuring out where we spend our time, but also within the day-to-day, are we pointing to Jesus? In our successes, in our failures, in everything that we do, are we thinking about it through the lens of Christ rather than on our own? This is worthy. He's worthy of our praise. And when we put Jesus first, we can become less, just like John the Baptist did. He can become less, and he can become more because he's worthy. He's worthy of being in that place of honor. And I got to tell you from my own experience, whenever I've put Jesus first, I haven't regretted it because it is less about me and way more about him. And I think that's very important for us to remember this Christmas season.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Heather. I think this was a really good challenge as we explored, the journey, the Christmas story, and we started here with the birth of John.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Yeah. So thank you for this. I hope this was helpful to all of you. Be sure to download the Hope Has Come cards from our CHARA shop on our website, as well as if you'd like to subscribe or comment or like these podcasts, these episodes. It really helps us out. But make sure you join us again tomorrow for day 2 as we continue in this journey of the Christmas story. And thank you for joining us.